Hi everyone, my name is SOMTO AJULUCHUKWU and welcome to the Spirit Universe of African Comics panel session at the MCM London virtual event. I'm super excited to have everyone here. With me, I have Yamatarta, who's a CEO and founder of Temple Babies, which she's based in Atlanta, USA. But she's from the diaspora from Africa, and her stories capture a lot of North African culture, which is lacking in the African market space. I also have Bill Masuku, who is a creator based in Zimbabwe, representing Southern Africa. And he's the founder of Enigma Comics, which is championing storytelling from that region with comic books like Razor Man and Captain South Africa, which is critically acclaimed. And then we have Yamakasi Archange Kindu, who's from the Congo and representing the Central Africa region. Currently, he is in France, and he's pretty much had a long-running title called Orisha Pikin, which is about to be rebooted as Little Orisha, and one of the childhood favorites in the African space when it comes to kids comics. And then we have Salim Busugu, who is the founder of Avandu Comics and is representing the East African market, but he's currently based in Kenya, Nairobi. And myself, SOMTO AJULUCHUKWU, who will be moderating this session and talking about West African comic books, representing VORTEX CORP. Would also be moderating the panel with these amazing creators and individuals I have with us. So I'll be getting right into it. So I wanna, just to have a deeper insight on each of you, if you could just take 5 minutes to tell me about yourself, your brand, and your type of storytelling and what inspires the stories that you're telling. So I'll start with you, Yama.
Well, as you said, my name is Yamar Tet. I am the co-founder of TempleBabies.com, which is a multimedia company for family-friendly entertainment and education. We offer cartoons, storybooks, comics for teens and children. And our cartoons have a very vastness within my culture as a Sabayan, or also called Mosfatu, which I always involve and incorporate in all my stories so that the world can hear my stories from my culture, the things that I grew up with, as well as the history that has never been told to the world on this type of platform, like through art history, as I'm doing with my company, so that the world may know my stories as Mosfatu, the tales that I grew up with, as well as our history and our culture.
Oh, awesome. We're very happy to have you with us, Yamatarta.
Thank you.
Also with us here is Bill Masuku. Can you give us a little bit of insights about you, your organization, and your inspiration towards your storytelling?
Thank you for having me on the panel. So I'm from Zimbabwe in Southern Africa, if you don't know, Google. And I make a couple of stories, all that are unconnected, but are all coming from the same place. It's a need to tell a story of Africa. And that's not a monolithic thing, which is why we're not all from the same country/region here on this panel. And I wanted to focus on things that hit home for me, radio stories. I wanted to do Afrofuturism that tied into what I saw growing up, what I didn't see growing up. So I made Captain South Africa, which talks about, mutations and sci-fi and what South Africa could become. I made Razor Man because I grew up reading a lot of manga, and I never saw that level of expression on TV, on local TV, in terms of how wild the characters could be. But when you meet, people from my city, they're over the top, but you never see that in mediums. It's something that you never see. And I made other things like Welcome to Dead World, which is just, I just put together a whole bunch of fanfics into one book. Some people love that for some reason, no idea, thank you. And I just want to tell stories that someone else will pick up and say, hey, that's the name of my place. Because you see it a lot in like Western TV. It's like, oh, they mentioned my city once, and then you get super happy. Like, I want that to be a constant feeling in the stories that I make from Southern Africa.
That's super special. Thanks, Bill, for joining us. Archange Kindu, can you give us a little bit of insight into your like storytelling and your projects and your direction towards storytelling?
Okay, thanks. I am Yamakasi. I'm from the Congo. I currently study in France, but I work for VORTEX Animation, VORTEX CORP in Nigeria. I've created so far only one comic book, which we will hopefully be working towards having an animation. My direction in terms of storytelling is basically just bringing a human emotional experience to life. Basically, we don't just want to have robots or characters who are going around and have fun and stuff, but we want to represent how human beings feel, the things that we go through, bullying. How do you feel when you get bullied? How do you feel when you get a broken heart, when you try to get a girl but it doesn't work, when you come from a poor background and you want to succeed and you want to become someone different, you better yourself, when you want to change or self-actualize, when you want to change the world around you, what are the obstacles that you face from the outside, but also from the inside. So I just really want to study the depth of human interactions and the depth of the human emotional expression. That's basically what I want to do through my comic books and storytelling as a whole.
Oh, that's amazing. Thanks, Kindo, for spending time with us today. Salim, can you give us a little bit of insight into yourself, Vandu's journey, and also your direction with storytelling?
Yeah, thank you again for having me. As you mentioned, I'm Salim Busuru, creative at Vandu. And in essence, what we do, or actually my journey, is actually quite similar to Bill's, and in the sense that we also just wanted to show people who look like us. And to add on, just another part of it is that as a Vandu, we also wanted to, I saw, you know how you can see like English knights, and then they're in the future, they're in these mech suits and things like those in the animes and cartoons and all that. And so what we also wanted to do is to look at our past African art and also try to bring that forward into our current times and also futuristic. So it was also, as much as we want to represent ourselves, we also wanted to see if we could push the style and the artwork forward, bring it here and move it forward, such that it's not just guys in loincloths all the time.
Yeah, awesome. So I'm just gonna start from you, and just take it up. So, but because of the time constraint, we'll have to run through our answers, as quick as we can. So tell us about the market in Kenya, because Kenya pretty much stands as the pinnacle for the entire East African market. If you're making comic books in Kenya, it's how the market is looked at. There's a vertical, it's a vertical line for the East African market. So can you give us an insight into what it is to create comic books in Kenya, and what your experience has been so far in your production?
Yeah, so I would say the market here is it's starting to pick up. I think the thing is that because of the stigma associated with comics and cartoons, especially in like an African home, you're like, those are for kids and all that. So guys don't really grow with that, with cartoons the way you would say Japanese do or Americans do. And so we are finding ourselves having to re-educate or sensitize guys about comics. We are sort of like growing the market again. But the thing is that guys, the market guys have the spending power. Yeah, they can't buy these comics, and so the thing is creating the awareness and getting them to love to know that the stuff is there first of all, and then to make it affordable and consistent. And so that's where we are at right now in terms of our comic production and putting it out there and selling. The market is there. We just have to do a bit of work getting the info out.
Yeah, okay, so awesome, man, thanks. So, just like pretty much it's in the same place as most of the regions across Africa as well, in terms of trying to identify the audience and creating a buying culture within our audience. Yeah. Yamukasi, you come from a region that pretty much to find a creator is like finding the needle in a haystack.
Absolutely.
In the East African region and the West African region, where there's a ton of comics, and recently the Southern region as well. In Congo, it's very difficult to find. In entire Central Africa, it's very difficult to find creators. Could you tell us a bit about how that was a challenge for you coming up, and what you intend to do to create a more fertile market in the Central African region?
Okay, that's a good question. Thanks so much. So definitely it was difficult for me to actually get started in the comic business, if I have to say that, because growing up I've just been writing for comic books and stuff, and then telling my parents, look, I want to make comic books for life, and they were like, no, you can't. So I want to make music, no, you can't. So wait, I want to make theater, I don't know, no, you can't. Like, there's no money there, there's nothing there. I was like, okay, you know what, I love comic books, I love music, I love theater, then I'm gonna make movies, because the movies just take everything. And they were like, no, you can't, because so I had to be determined. I had to be determined for my people to actually understand that this is what I was called for to do, telling stories and make people escape the realities of their lives and enjoy stories that I create. And then they backed me up, and since then they've been backing me up. I went to South Africa, they supported me. Now I'm in France, they're supporting me because like Naruto, you don't just stand down, just don't give up, you keep going. But it's hard to find artists. They are there, it's just that the environment doesn't allow it to be prosperous, doesn't allow them to feel like they can evolve in that world of artistry. So now that I am working on a Little Orisha, and I know that I have many other projects, the plan is really to get the first project to get really to succeed, to shine, and that will open a door, a gate for my people, because I will be one of their voice. And because I have good network around the country, and I love sharing knowledge, and I love sharing my network with people, this will be one of the first steps to help the people to actually believe that it is possible to make comic books, it's possible to draw and make money out of it. So that's one of the plans. So I'm really focused on getting not just myself, but an entire country that relies on my success. So that's basically what I can say.
That's amazing. You've crossed quite a number of milestones. You've published 5 comic books in the past, couple of years, which are award-winning. And you've also had successful campaigns and stuff like Digital Lab and the MIFA Annecy pitch. So you're doing a great job of that, and I must commend your effort for continuously trying to create a room for the Central African creator.
Thank you so much.
And moving into Southern Africa, Bilmasuku, you've been creating comics for quite a bit, and one of the things that make you and Salim stand out is the fact that you both are artists that write your own stories. Oh no, actually, you, Salim, and Yamatat, I'm not saying, so Yamatat,
I don't write all of them.
Yeah, and Salim and Bill, 3 of you actually are writer artists, and that gives you a certain creative control over your ideas and your intellectual property. because what you think is what you get. You know, not all the time. Maybe you tell me about more about that, Bill. But what I want to touch on specifically is, you know, the growth in, you know, how Southern Africa is closer because of just location and the business of film that is growing in that region to getting the first superhero African film, you know? So whenever we think about a big blockbuster coming out in terms of an African superhero film or an African comic-based movie, you know, we think of Southern Africa because that's the base camp of Netflix, and that's the base camp for a lot of international corporations that are coming into Africa. So can you tell us about how you feel the movie market is going to spill over into the comic market? And can you also give us an insight into, you know, your journey through with Captain South Africa and the current traction it's getting with, you know, the NOMO nominations and the EBACC award?
That was a lot. I feel like you asked everybody else simple questions. Man came through with like a preamble. Okay, movie market, movie comic market. So first and foremost, like you said, South Africa is the base camp for a lot of these things. In terms of Netflix and big companies from the States or from, you know, Europe coming through. There have been some successes. So I think it was Queen Sono. I'm not sure if that's a comic book thing, because when you think of comic book adaptations, you think of like Polar, you think of Umbrella Academy, and so on and so forth. The things that were comic books and then they got made into TV series or they got picked up. But having shows that are locally made is very, it makes the steps closer. If you think of how many steps it takes or how far away each step is, it makes the steps easier to make. Because if you're a comic book person, you know that in your country, there's someone you can call, a cold call, and say, hey, we saw you develop this. Can you give us the name for the director or the you know, the company that made this? It just makes it easier. Like if any of you were to try and call them in South Africa, I mean, it would work. That's how telephones work. But like that relationship of seeing a foreign number on your phone, like you hesitate. Like even that, it makes the steps bigger. If I see a plus, you know, 64, I'm like, hold on a minute. How do you get this number? Like first, I'm gonna let it go. I'm gonna let it go to voicemail, and then like I'll WhatsApp you and say, hello, how can I help you? Like, you know what I mean? You make that distance because this industry, as close as it is, all of us work in like independent silos, and that's why it's very hard. Like I say industry begrudgingly, because an industry means like an interconnected body that's, you know, prospering financially. We are collectives that are doing well. There's the different scales. So in terms of, can a comic book in Southern Africa become Netflix? Sure. Can a comic book in Kenya become Netflix? Sure. Can a comic book in North Africa? Sorry, I can't, no countries are coming to mind right now. That's my bad. That's my bad. There's 54 to remember. Just relax, please.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It's a lot. So yeah, like we are close. Definitely big shout out to Comic Con Africa bringing that attention, and like tens of thousands of people to view comics, to put them on the map. I think I wanted to write somewhere, I was writing an article saying that Comic Cons foster comic book growth in terms of the local community. And your other question was about Captain South Africa. I don't remember specifically what it was.
I'm saying, I was asking Captain South Africa in terms of writing a book that currently is receiving a lot of traction, not only within Africa, but the African diaspora. You know, are there, what direction did you take in the storytelling that, you know, compelled the narrative?
I don't think my narrative is special in, that's a lie, but I'll stick with this thought. I don't think my narrative is special in any way. It's a someone, tragedy, step up, power, costume. That's, you know, that's the formula. Unless you're One Punch Man and you just run for 10Ks and you get your powers, which is unfair, by the way.
Yeah, that's unfair.
But it's funny. What I think I did do differently is that, so when I came back from South Africa, because I went to study in South Africa for about 4 years, when I came back, I came into this market and it was just monsters of art. People who had been to animation school, people who had been doing fine arts, who appeared in galleries, who have connections, you know, that collective that I was talking about. Like, it was very cohesive. It was very hard to penetrate and make friends, especially because I am not an artist. I'm a writer who can't afford an artist. And then, it's real, bruh. It's so real. And you're just like, let me just, you know, and then publish it and no one will ask questions. But the thing that I took away from my university experience was that I studied commerce. So when I came into the market, my competitive advantage is not that I can draw better, not that I can color better. I'm pretty good at lettering, but like no one teaches you that. And I don't do pin art, so I can't do covers. So I said, how can I market this book? How can I sell this book as a product? Because a lot of people will make the book as a piece of art and it's great. Like, your friends will see it and they'll be like, oh, this is dope. And that's where it stops. But for me, I'm like, tell Twitter, tell Insta, go get a Snapchat account, share it there, follow hashtags. And I made like a marketing strategy around it. And I made it I wouldn't say business because that makes it seem like I'm making money. But I got attention.
Business.
I got attention. So like my philosophy, because I'm running short on time, my philosophy is get seen, get good, get paid, right? Because if you do it in any other order, it's very difficult for you to stand out because everybody wants to, no, that's a lie. Most people want to be a comic book artist or something creative. And then your parents say no to you making movies or comics or art or theater. So you have to find your competitive niche and then just hammer it until someone notices. So that's what I did. Thank you for your time.
All right.
Nice.
That's super insightful. You know, taking advantage of the things you know and focusing on the things you know to create a market advantage for yourself. That's something that, you know, a lot of people should take home from that one. Yamata.
Hey.
Yamartet.
Yamartet Tai.
Yamata. You know, it's just, let me just where I stopped it.
Whatever you say, it's wrong. I told you this. I told you this, and you didn't want to listen.
Okay. Yeah, it's one thing that struck me about your comic books and your storytelling is I can arguably say that Temple Babies is the largest publisher of children's books on the entire continent.
Thank you.
And you're doing such an amazing work in that space. Not only do you do it in the children's books, in terms of the children's books, you do it in children's comics, and then you've taken that experience into animation. So you have a 360-degree cycle. And recently I saw that you were featured on Black Wall Street. And
Yes.
I'm sure that has given you some level of exposure as well in terms of the business of, you know, African children comic books and African children's stories. I want to know what inspired your storytelling for the children's books, because they're very unique, one. And secondly, I want to also know how the relationship, being in the diaspora in the States, how the relationship between the diaspora in terms of your customer base is that within Africa as well.
Well, to answer your first question, it wasn't hard to find inspiration because the inspiration came from my life as a Sabaean and the everyday things that I grew up with in my culture was Sabbat and the scriptures and things and such. So like in Kadumnia, which means kingdom actually, a lot of the structures and visuals is similar to that of Egypt, Napata, because those are the similar environments that I grew up in my temples, in my, you know, community centers. So the culture that I grew up in is the inspiration, the language, the names, the stories, all things that are dear to me. And it, as who I am, we never had a platform to really express our stories and tell them to children, teens, and the world until one day I was like, I'm gonna change that. close to what Bill said, I used to watch manga as well as a teenager. And, you know, I was like, wow, I wish we had those stories, those fantastic animations and things so that the world, just like how Japan did, can see our stories and our culture. So I took it upon myself to learn how to draw, which took like 6 years, and start small, start with storybooks, and then work with comics. And then from there, worked on teen comics, which is Kadumia, I believe is on your platform.
Yeah.
And then into animation, because everybody knows the power is in moving pictures. That's how America cinema became the big hoo-ha or whatever, was because they were the first to start moving pictures. So that's definitely where I like to go to, so that we can tell our stories in a different light and reach people differently in animation, comic stories, etc., so that the world can know we exist. Because until then, in the artistic field, nobody knew what our stories looked like as Sabines. So I was like, I'm just gonna go ahead and do it.
Most definitely.
So
you're immortalizing the culture and the entire the history of that culture through your stories.
definitely. And to answer your second question, I actually had a South Sudanese friend, and one of the most beautiful thing was learning how there were so many similarities between our cultures and our languages and our titles and things like that. And I don't think I would have ever been able to really grasp the connectivity of all of us in the diaspora and of Africa until I had started my platform and it started to reach other people, and we was able to connect and communicate and really just see how beautiful it is that we all are one. So I hope that answers your second question.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
Gang, gang.
You know, just to just to touch a little bit on the West African market. I'm SOMTO AJULUCHUKWU. I represent a company called VORTEX. VORTEX is a company that is passionate about exporting African culture through comic books, animation, and interactive media. And we've, through the help of these amazing people here and also the publishers across the continent, we've created a platform called the VORTEX 247. And the idea is to create a capsule of African comic books, which can just be swallowed in one gulp, you know, and consumed by, you know, the entire continent, the diaspora, and the world at large. And, you know, we have a philosophy where we believe that, you know, the market is stronger together, especially when in its growth stage. And for us to survive the next 10 years, which is, in our calculation, what we believe is the glory number for the journey that we need to take into getting into a multi-billion-dollar empire, each of us here, and the industry at large. You know, we must share our audience and we must share our market space. And, you know, that's the foundation of what VORTEX is built on, you know, Ubuntu, you know, if I might say, for my brother from the East African region, you know, yeah, pretty much, you know, just to run down with a final question, which I have for everyone. I would like to know particularly where you see, you know, on that note, which I left, where you see the market going in the next 5 to 10 years and how you intend to take advantage of it. So when answering this question, once Yama is done, Bill, you can just jump in and, you know, take in the answer, and it just flows through down. So when you say that, I would like you to, you know, also tell us about where we can find your comic books and also where we can learn more about your brand on social media.
Well, in the next 10 to 15 years, you asked?
5 to 10 years.
5 to 10 years. Okay. I do believe that African and African diaspora stories will become the forefront in media internationally, because I think, and honestly, we're tired of watching the white superhero. the Black villain, the simple, repetitive narrative that they have perpetuated to the world of the white savior, the Black people down on their luck, we never win. And the only persons that are changing that narratives are us in Africa and of the diaspora. There are different stories, different lights of people of color to see themselves in ways that they've never been depicted properly in American or European cinema. So I do believe that African entertainment, comics, all of that will become the forefront, and the world will definitely look towards it. I do believe that.
Okay, awesome.
And I don't remember your second question. If you can repeat that.
Where to find it?
Yeah, how do you intend to take advantage of this growth, in terms of just, you know, one thing that you're doing to take advantage of this growth, or to position yourself in a way that, you know, makes you part of the you know, of the boom that is inevitably coming?
Mm-hmm. The way I'm taking advantage of this boom that's coming is definitely to keep the products coming. Keep the comics, keep the storybooks, keep the cartoons, the movies, don't stop. Because in order to win, you have to keep going. So I intend to continue to produce cartoons mainly because I actually have a teen comic series coming out next year, romance, but keep it coming. We'll keep watching. It's coming soon, and a few other animated shorts that I'll be releasing this year. And I definitely believe that the way to keep ahead of it is to not give up, to not stop, and to keep pushing. And that's what my mother, which is the co-founder of my company, TempleBabies.com, and I intend on doing, which is to keep pushing forward. I'll repeat again. Hi, my name is Yamartet Tai. I'm the co-founder of TempleBabies.com, which is a multimedia company for children's entertainment and education. You can find my storybooks, comics, teen graphic novels, as well as cartoon series and films at TempleBabies.com. And that is TempleBabies.com. You can also find us Temple Babies on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Temple Babies Kids TV to watch some free snippets of our cartoons on YouTube.
That's
Thanks.
amazing. That sounds like an ad right there. You know,
Right? Like, is we getting paid for
it
this?
literally sounds like a commercial literally pulled out of that's amazing. I admire your passion, Yama. Bill, can you give us a quick recap? You know, we don't have a lot of time. Zoom's ticking. Can you just give us a quick insight on, you know, the question asked, please?
The Zoom is ticking sounds like the title of a Flash comic. This boom that's coming also sounds like the title of a story arc. But we'll talk about that behind the scenes. This boom that's coming and how I'm going to take advantage of it. I think, or how we should all, how I'm going to take advantage of it is documentation is key for me. So like I've started like I put out a form for everybody to fill out if they want to, of comics that, you know, they know about or that they've made, where they're from, when they're first published, etc., and links to find them. Because when you Google African comics, there's only like, I'd say upper limit, 25 articles that tell you top 5 African comics you should read, top 10 African comics you should read, when, you know, there's, you know, a lot more than just that, and they're not getting attention. But if you Google manga, right, it gives you the entire entomology, it tells you when it started, it tells you who's making it, when, and then sub-pages as to what else this person has done. And I think in this age of information, we have a lot of data, and that data hasn't been tabulated and analyzed and made accessible information to other people. Even just asking, you know, what comics came out of North Africa, I have no idea. And my network is so small that it stops in Central Africa. It stops with everyone that I know here. Like I can ask you guys, but then how do I actually get that empirical data? How do I say, are we like we could make more comics? And then you ask, are we doing well? What does doing well mean? Does it mean being famous, or does it mean sales? Who's keeping track of sales? Who's, you know, gazetting this information? Because that's all important. And when this boom comes, that'll make it all the more attractive to investors and new entrants. It's like, oh, y'all are making gang money from this? Because right now, I don't know how much y'all making. I know I'm broke, but how do I know y'all not just gang rich in the background?
And most
And, you know, an investor.
that's you know, that's even like you know, which is so important because definitely the data drives the market, and the data even determines what products should be picked up, because how can they know what products to invest in to take it to the big screen if they don't know who's reading and which regions are reading? And I think, you know, which brings it back to you know, why Vortex 247 is not only just a business under the Vortex brand, but a service to the African comic book industry, because we're collating this data daily, you know, and we're collating it in real time. That means as we're speaking right now, data is being collected on each person's reads, where the person is reading from, how long the person is even spending on the books, you know, and, you know, which takes it down to Central Africa, to speak to
Yamakasi.
Yamakasi.
Yes.
I hope you remember the questions being asked.
Yeah, I do remember the question being asked.
Please take it away.
Yeah, so in the 5 or next 10 years, that I hope that I can't add more than what they said, because I also hope the same thing, that the market will be boiling, the people can buy the comic books and not just read for free, but they can buy to support the culture. I hope that it's going to be, you know, creating more content in different formats, different mediums, not just comic books, but comic books that are turned into animes, or comic books that are turned into movies or theater plays or anything. But that's what I hope, like everybody else. So how do we intend to take advantage of that? I also support what Bill said about collecting data, and I also support what Yamarte Tat said about keep pushing, because you have to keep creating. The only thing I can add to that is also just you know, protecting the art, protecting the artists, protecting the art and protecting the artists. Being here in France and studying what I'm studying, I've realized that the industry in France might be, or maybe is, the best model in terms of protecting artists. So the laws that they have here, they have the best IP laws in the world, and they also have the best social laws in the world anyway, but in terms of artists, they have the best IP laws. And studying their model is an inspiration to bring it to Africa. Because, you know, everybody wants to rush and make the industry or the creative culture big and, you know, start making business and money out of it. But then when you get to that point, how do you protect people? That's something I believe I really want to focus on. Just really protecting the creatives and helping them, you know, make money and secure, you know, financial security for their children and for the culture. That's one. And also encouraging a reading culture. It is important to have people understand that reading is important, that knowledge is important, that the only way to have knowledge, one of the ways to have knowledge, is to read a lot. And we don't have that in Africa as a whole, but some countries do have that. But if we can create this collective consciousness about reading, like they did in Europe, like here, the best gift you can give to someone is a book. But back home, you will give a book, the person will be like, oh, why don't you give me money? So if I give you the book, then you will make money out of it. You know, you will know how to make money. So that's the second thing. It's really encouraging a reading culture and also fostering a creative culture. And for that, we need to create like open schools where we share knowledge. Some people, they're like, oh, this is how I made my money, so I'm going to keep the secret of how I make this magic potion. But you need to share the knowledge so that other people can also benefit and create like an entire world. Because if you're the only one making it, when you die, you die. That's how many of our wise men, many of our people, our great ancestors died with their knowledge, because they didn't want to share it. So you need to share your knowledge so that, you know, it keeps moving and keeps growing.
I think that's an amazing point you made towards protecting the artist and creating a strong legal framework that protects the intellectual property and the rights and the royalties of these artists. So that's something that we need to keep in sight of. Ownership. I think the word that we're looking for is ownership.
Ownership.
You know, Black should own Black. Africa needs to take control of our industry. You know, we need to take hold of our industry. We need to be in a position where we're not just collecting handouts for our growth, but we're being in charge of our industry. We are masters of our industry. So this is not just another oil boom. This is not just another tech boom. This is not just another coal mine or cobalt mine or diamond mine. This is the creative industry, and we are the forefront behind it and in the engine room. That's amazing. Salim, can you give us, you know, some closing, you know, wise words just to cap this up? This has been such a powerful session. I'm so happy that I got to spend time with all of you. I love you guys. Yeah, so much. So Salim, can you like just, you know?
Okay. Yeah. So been some great insights. I think those are really important. I think to just latch on to your last point, Somto, like owning our stuff, and that's what I was actually expecting you to ask about, like explain like the first movie to Chuck of African superheroes. Should it be from Netflix or should it be from Nollywood? So you know, those kind of things.
It's too late for that question. Next time. Next time.
Yeah, but just to make it brief. So in 5 to 10 years, I think Africa having the largest audience of young people, I think we're poised to be like to have a good audience whereby we can sell our content to and have them consume our content and grow big. I think having a connected market, not just, you know, Africa, people have an assumption that Africa is just one country, which it's not. And we say that it should not be. But in essence, when it comes to something like this, I believe it should be as one country. Such that because this will be, this is the biggest market, the most untapped market so far. And so having those intense separations is really hurting us more than it is benefiting us. And so hopefully, I believe with the strides being made, Africa will be a more united country, a more united continent, and the borders of economics and those economics, laws, taxes will be reduced for Africa trade. So I think having original content as Yamatate, sorry, is that Yamatate?
Close. Yamarte Tai.
Yamarte Tai. Yeah, Yamarte Tai said, Yamarte said, original content. I think we are the ones left with original content. And so I think that would be a great boost for us, not just within Africa, also outside Africa. Guys are going to get our stuff. So it's just up to us to keep it coming and also to just keep the quality up there so that it's not looked down upon. Yeah, but I think with everything being done with Vortex, Temple Babies, build what you're doing and a change. I think the only way is up for us. Yeah, that's really what I believe, and so that's why I'm excited. I don't want to move, go somewhere else, or you know. I think we're in the right place at the right time.
Yeah,
man. Asante.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the spirit universe of African comic books. We have Yamatarte.
Yamarte
Yamarte Tai.
Yeah, he got it.
We'll give you a pass.
We have Yamartata from Temple Babies out there in ATL representing North Africa through her comics, and she's from the African diaspora. We have Bill Masuku all the way from Zimbabwe representing Enigma comic books. You know, Yama spoke on you know, how we need to keep it going, how we need to keep moving, how we need to keep producing, keep making content. That's the way. Bill Masuku spoke on empirical data and how data is key, you know, documenting our history, archiving our history. That is so important. Yamakasi Kindo Archange spoke on ownership and protecting the artists. You know, our legal reforms, what are we doing as we're growing big and we're, you know, trying to get towards this wealth? How are we protecting our wealth? And how are we protecting the artists behind this wealth? You know, and Salim Busuru spoke about, you know, gave us a deeper insight on industry in terms of ownership, on how we don't need to wait for the West. But you know, West intervention is all well and good. It's amazing. But at the same time, we have what it takes and we have all it takes to invest in ourselves, you know. And on this note, I want to say a big thank you to everyone. This is the Spirit Universe of African Comics, and you have listened to some of the leading voices in African comic books today. And thank you very much. Love you all.